Elira was only 7 when her world was turned to smoke and ash. She remembered the fire first, how it cracked through the night like thunder, how it lit the sky red while screams echoed between the trees. Raiders on horseback, faces painted like skulls, tore through her village before the sun had a chance to rise. She'd hidden in a hollowed log, clenching her tiny fists over her ears, trying not to breathe too loud. When the silence came, it was worse than the screams. She wandered the plains for 2 days with no food, her bare feet cracked and blistered, eyes wide with shock. Crows circled overhead. Coyotes kept their distance, but never too far. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She simply walked. That's how the Wolfwind tribe found her, half-starved, sunburned, and silent, standing alone beside a dried creek bed, staring at nothing. A warrior named Roan dismounted and offered her a skin of water. She didn't flinch. She just drank. They took her in. They gave her the name Elira, which meant spirit that walks alone in their tongue. It was fitting. The Wolfwind were proud horse people of the southern plains, nomadic, fierce, and deeply spiritual. They believed in omens, dreams, and the wisdom of the land. When they brought Elira into their circle, the tribe mothers braided her hair, wrapped her in deer hide, and offered her a place near the fire. She ate with them, slept among them, and rode with them when they moved camp. But she never truly became one of them. Not yet. She rarely spoke. When she did, it was in a whisper, her voice scratchy from disuse. The other children tried to include her in their games, but she always stayed at the edge, watching rather than joining. Elders said the trauma had sealed her spirit in silence. Some said she might never come back. But what no one saw, what no one really understood, was how much she noticed. Elira's eyes missed nothing. She knew which horses were moody and which responded best to soft voices. She watched the women grind herbs and learned which plants could heal a fever or soothe a cough. She followed the hunters with her eyes, memorizing how they moved through tall grass without making a sound. Most of all, she studied the land, the way the sun touched the hills at dawn, the paths the deer took through the brush, the way the birds changed their songs before a storm. The tribe thought they'd taken in a broken child, but Elira was not broken. She was rebuilding, in silence, in solitude, and in shadows. She didn't need words to understand the quiet grief in the chief's eyes when he stared into the fire. She didn't need anyone to tell her which warriors were truly brave and which ones only puffed their chests in ceremony. She could read truth in movement, in tension, in wind, and she listened, more deeply than any child her age should. The elders often spoke of the Great Spirit riding on the back of the wind, whispering secrets to those still enough to hear. Elira was still. She heard everything. While others dismissed her as a sad orphan, she became something else entirely, an observer, a memory keeper, a quiet witness to every motion of tribe and earth. The Wolfwind gave her food, shelter, and warmth, but belonging, that had to be earned. And deep inside, Elira didn't just want to belong. She wanted to matter, and when the time came, she would prove that even the smallest voice could carry the weight of a people. Summer on the plains came fast, like a galloping horse, hot, dry, and unforgiving. The grass turned gold, the rivers shrank, and the air shimmered with heat. The Wolfwind tribe moved as they always had, chasing the herds, following the stars. But that summer something shifted. Tensions with a rival band, the Hollow Teeth, had grown. Land disputes, broken agreements, and old grudges whispered through the elders' meetings like smoke. Watchfires burned higher. Warriors sharpened their spears more often than usual. Even the children knew to stay close to the heart of camp. Tahan, the chief's brother and the tribe's most respected warrior, was the first to volunteer for a scouting mission near the disputed ridge. He was strong, level-headed, and deeply spiritual, a man of both war and wisdom. The people trusted Tahan not only with their safety, but with their stories, their secrets, their prayers. He rode out with 3 others and promised to return by moonrise, but he didn't. Only 2 scouts returned the next morning, bruised and winded. They said they had been ambushed in the night. In the chaos, they'd become separated, The last they saw of Tahan, he had been surrounded, fighting, bleeding, but still on his feet. Then the darkness swallowed him. The tribe was thrown into panic. Tahan's absence wasn't just a blow to morale, it was a wound to the tribe's spirit. The chief, a usually stoic man, stood silent for an entire day, staring into the smoke of the central fire. Search parties were sent in all directions. The men returned each time covered in dust and failure. No sign, no blood trail, no broken spear or discarded cloak. It was as if Tahan had vanished into the bones of the earth. Elira watched all of it. She sat outside the healer's tent, hands wrapped around her knees, eyes locked on the riders as they came and went. No one asked her what she thought, no one ever did, but her memory burned with images, places she had walked alone, narrow canyons, shaded creeks, and forgotten hideaways. While the searchers followed the trails most traveled, Elira remembered a different path. There was a place out past the Buffalo Cliffs, tucked between two crooked stones that looked like broken teeth. It was where she had hidden once, long ago, when she'd first fled the raiders. Few knew of it. Fewer would even think to look. Elira's heart raced. She didn't know why, but something pulled at her, like wind tugging at a tent flap before a storm. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was something. That night, under a sky streaked with stars, she stood outside the chief's tent. Warriors and elders looked up as she stepped forward, small and barefoot, no taller than the chief's waist. "I know where he might be," she said. It was the first time she'd spoken in front of them all. The wind dropped to a hush. The warriors exchanged glances. Some smirked, others frowned, but the chief did not. He stepped forward, studied her face, and saw something there. Something more than fear, more than a child's wish. He saw knowing. "Then you will lead us," he said quietly. And so, before the sun rose again, Elira, once the silent girl of no family, no name, mounted a pony and rode at the head of a search party, not as a child, not as a burden, but as their only hope.